IIT gives you the kind of confidence and the kind of campus life that is very, very conducive for people to develop into good human beings and good adults. Private companies are not very, they are very risk aversive. They don't want to take challenges by which they can, either really benefit a lot or it could be a failure. So government is the best bet for all startups, I can tell you that. But government doesn't realize that.
The persistent public problems that India has, stampedes in temples, death on unmanned railway crossings, which the government is also taking up in a big way. What kind of technology can, bring in to solve these?
Every day when you open the newspaper, some heart-rending headlines you see, which when I see it as a technologist, I feel even worse and even more sad compared to most people, because I know that this could have been prevented.
Do you have any views on the, current hot favorite, the NEET fiasco, where, things have unfortunately been very difficult for students across the country?
China, every year, they have a competitive exam where 23 million people write the exam. And when they write the exam on that day, the whole country is closed. There are near about this thing, no aircraft takes off or traffic is not allowed near that exam center. So the whole country takes those exams very, very seriously.
So, welcome to the Sustainable Stack, where we discuss everything technology, sustainability, and the future of innovation. Hi, my name is Saloni Malhotra, and I'm the founder of Desi Crew, as well as the author of Roots and Wings, the story of how deep tech was built in India. This is the biography of Padma Shri Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala. Joining us today on this podcast is a very, very special guest for me, Dr. Rajaram. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Saloni. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
There are some people who enter your life through circumstances. I had no idea when I stepped into Chennai on the day of tsunami in December 2020, December 2004. And I stepped into and I was introduced to Dr. Rajaram, that he would become such an influential part of my life. And I'm really glad that today, we're having this lovely conversation with him. A little introduction about Dr. Rajaram. He's a deep tech engineer and an innovator who has many, many patents to his name, both in India and the US. He has built a career over 5 decades where he has worked with defense, software, IoT, and machine learning, amongst many other things. Today, as the co-founder and CTO of KritiLabs, set up in Chennai, he's building an AI and IoT solutions company on critical infrastructure for public utilities, serving organizations like IOCL, BPCL, and several mining companies. He's also the founder of Spin Chennai, which promotes software engineering best practices, and the Deep Tech Forum of Indian Entrepreneurs, an initiative that is aimed at accelerating deep tech innovation in India. In addition, he also serves as the divisional chairperson of IoT applications across government, public, and private organizations. He has published many, many articles, both in scientific journals as well as mainstream media. And for many years, I've had the privilege of living with him and his family in Chennai, which I call home. More than that, he's one of the finest human beings who thinks about societal problems and not just about engineering and about technology. So I'm really, really happy that we have Dr. Rajaram here. And I'm going to request him that he takes us back to where it all started. Where did you grow up? What kind of environment shaped you? And, how did engineering and technology come into your world?
Sure. Thank you so much. And let me just repeat a quote of my own quote, which I had made sometime in 2007 or 8, I don't remember now, that Saloni and tsunami came together to Chennai.
It's true.
And just as much impact that tsunami had on various people's life negatively, so much more positively. You have had an impact not only on my life but on several people in Tamil Nadu, their lives. As part of JC Crew, you have really uplifted so many of those rural people who have benefited out of your enterprise. So it is always a pleasure talking to a personality like that. And to answer your question, well, I come from a very, very modest upbringing in a very lower middle class central Bombay locality. I have cut my teeth with some mafia goons who were on the road, knife wielding people. And apart from that, I was just recollecting my those days. Thanks for that. So most of the people, my neighbors, some of them were mill workers, many of them small businesses, cycle repair shops, and so on. So that milieu where I grew up, it was so rich in experience. So I did. So that was my upbringing, and of course, added to that milieu, my flip side of that was that my father, for whatever reason, in spite of a lot of other difficulties, he admitted me to a very prestigious school like St. Xavier's High School. So you can see the difference in daytime during my school days and the other time when I was in the local amongst local friends. So, but this gave me a good contrasting world to live in and to experience. Almost all my friends in the neighborhood were at least some 4 or 5 years elder to me, but I could hold my own against them mainly because possibly I had a better social capital, as they would say, because of my parents and my father being a white collared worker compared to other people who were mill owners and so on. So I could hold my own, and also the fact that I could speak a smattering of English due to my Xavier school also sort of uplifted my profile as far as and respect as far as these friends were concerned. But the turning point came when I uh, could get admission into IIT Kharagpur, and that catapulted me to a different world altogether because from you can imagine from the social milieu in which I grew to go into IIT. These days, of course, IIT is largely students are from very upper middle class because they could afford all the teaching and training and other things that those days it was a good mix of across the spectrum. You had some very, very rich and very intelligent children, and also people like me who grew up from the milieu in which I grew up. So, in fact, I had many friends who were sort of peers to me. But IIT gives you the kind of confidence and the kind of campus life that is very, very conducive for people to develop into good human beings and good adults. So, I think that has had a great impact on me.
So I think IIT Kharagpur, like you said, was a turning point, and your love for technology, I think, grew at IIT Kharagpur, as I know. And I remember the first thing that I heard about you much before I even met you, when I was in engineering college, was that
Yes,
you have built, much before Sabir Bhatia had built Hotmail, that you had built an equivalent email engine that India could use back in 1998. Um,
1988.
sorry, 1988. Sorry,
Yes.
1988. And please tell us a little bit about that, and how did that come about, and what was that?
Yeah. So before that, of course, after my IIT Kharagpur days, I joined Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai. That was another world completely because people didn't care about what is your background, from where do you come, and what type of language you speak. It was all just professional problem solving and intelligent uh, uh, what you can do with your own brains, right? That was the whole fundamental difference between various other worlds that I have lived in. So that gave me an opportunity to think that yes, this is what I want to do, and I want not to discriminate against anything else. I have to focus on what I can learn and how I can do something out of what I have learned. So TIFR was a great experience. We did some very advanced projects of Indian Air Force where we had to deal with a lot of radars, and those days it was very very high tech at that time, and we programmed in small computers like PDP 11, which where we had to use machine language to enter programs and so on. So in fact, sometimes we coded even in the binary codes itself. So far cry from today's LLMs, right? So then I went on to become a joint director in the Department of Electronics. The first time I tasted some kind of authority uh, of a position rather. So so that I led a team of about 40-50 people there, and we were into again defense projects in the Navy. But now coming to your question, before that, so the whole thing in the government as I was there was very frustrating because unlike TIFR, the focus was not on your what you produce and what problems you solve, but there was focus was much more of how you can get ahead with a one-upmanship over other people, and how to, in spite of the interests of the government or whoever employer whom you are working for are not met, but still there are other considerations and so on. So I quit. People were surprised that as a joint director, young, I was the youngest joint director at that time, the age of 30. So people were surprised that such a lucrative career I could give up. But I thought something needs to be done about it. And rather than keep cursing what is inside the government, let me get out and see what changes I can bring in to the government. So I got out, and we started with my friend in TIFR. We started a company, and of course, we struggled as usual. But very soon, we built this email engine that you were talking about. We called it the Telelink, and I still remember that name. And we had about 10,000 users at that time itself.
Wow.
Yeah, and so many big corporate companies, we were able to convince them to use it. Particularly, the biggest customer was ITC, and in those days, everybody had on-premise computers and a whole range of mainframes, right from IBM to VAX 1170 to many other machines. So we had to get that business, we had to port our software onto each and every one of those machines. And then those days, the communication systems are also very bad at that time. And I mean, I think you would never have seen such a modem which sent data at 48 baud per second. Baud, not kilobaud, bauds, right? And whenever it used to dial up and go, there used to be the typical sound which used to keep coming. and by the sound itself, we would know whether it is connecting properly or not, right? So those were the days, and but our email software was extremely useful. People loved it in ITC mainly because across India, in almost some 70, 80 location of theirs across all their divisions, they implemented it. And the best moment of satisfaction came to me when on one day when I was having a meeting with ITC officers in the headquarters in Kolkata. A gentleman came and shook my hands. So I was, I mean, worried. Why is he doing that? So he said, suddenly out of the blue, he said, "You saved my marriage."
Okay.
So yes, so I was zapped. I didn't know why is he saying it. Apparently, then the story came out that he was the manager of a factory of ITC in Bhadrachalam, paperboard factory, and he was number one in that township where they had all these people with their own housing right within the complex, right? And apparently, everybody, the factory would close at 6 o'clock or whatever time in the evening. Everybody would go home, only except him, because as a manager, he had to collect everybody's reports, print out the reports from the data that they had given, and then fax almost 40 to 50 pages every day to the headquarters,
Wow.
right? And that took him. He had to stay back in the office till 8:30 or 9 with his newly married wife all alone at home. Right when she sees all other colleagues of his are back home except this man, she started wondering what is this guy doing in the office, or has he gone somewhere else? And she gave him an ultimatum finally that if you don't come by 6 o'clock like everybody else, I am going back to my parents' place.
Okay.
And that was just 3 or 4 days away when our email got installed there.
Okay.
And he could write from just half an hour it took to schedule all those reports that came into his machine for it to be sent as email attachments to the head office. And he
Wow.
was happy. So that was some great moment of satisfaction when you feel that your product at least has changed one person's life.
Yeah.
Right.
What an
So,
incredible story. Because I think today most of us run so many things on autopilot and we love instant gratification, you know.
eh,
But what I also remember about that email tool was that it had a universal alerts and notification engine, which today we take for granted.
correct.
But I
Right.
think your email tool was one of the
Yeah.
first tools to introduce that.
In fact, I think even in today's context, it is innovative in the sense that today you have alerts inbuilt into various applications that you subscribe to or use. Right, those are the whether you're a stock market application or railway application or whichever application you take, there are alerts there
Right.
which gives you and alerts you to various things. Ours was an alerts engine. It was not specific to any application. It was like a general purpose utility that you can go to the website of ours. They describe what exactly you want to be alerted on,
Hmm.
right? And so, for example, if you're playing the stock market, you could say, I want to be alerted when this particular stock goes up beyond this, or
Right.
when my portfolio value drops or increases, and so on.
Right.
Or you could go to the railway. I mean, you could specify that when a train is about to come in or leave, or when a flight is about to take off, you alert me. Of course, my motivation of inventing this and developing this was because of my interest in cricket, right? Because I was such a great fan of Tendulkar that I used to keep. In those days, of course, no TV and all that. So we used to keep looking at bulletins that used to keep coming on the internet.
Right.
Right? I used to follow the matches. Even now we can follow, but those days that was a very novel thing to do. And then I thought that, okay, it is distracting me from my work. So why not I put an alert to tell me whenever Tendulkar scores a four or a six or a century. So
Right.
in fact, that is how we named our product. Tell me whenever.
Oh, okay.
So you can specify whatever you want and say, tell me whenever this happens. And
Hmm.
it was not just one event, but you could model a whole lot of events together with a Boolean logic where you can say, if this happens but that doesn't happen, and these two together, this is what is the result, you please alert me. So for example, to get back to the fact that each of the applications today has got alerts, but you will not be alerted by the fact that suppose a situation arises where you want, if the stock market goes down and the gold price goes up, then alert me so that I
Hmm.
can do this transaction, right? That doesn't happen now, but our product would still do that.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And I think this, I mean, you're a builder, clearly, like email, notification engine, and there are lots of other stories and examples of products that you've built. But I want to come to where we are today,
Yeah.
what you're building today. And I think KritiLabs has been your venture for the last decade, if I can say,
Yep.
right?
More than that,
More
about
than a
14 years.
yeah, about
14
14
years.
years. Yeah. And you build for the defense, for railways, for IOCL,
Yeah.
PPCL
Uh,
companies like public service entities. What have you now, changed in your mindset, and what do you know about building for those sectors, all the critical sectors that the startup ecosystem often doesn't touch at all?
yeah, yeah, of course. See, I think, of course, to clarify, I think we have now crossed the stage where uh, no longer we think of ourselves as building products. I think we are now in a stage where we are managing very critical infrastructure for the country, right? So that is what we like to think of, having done many things in the transportation sector, in various other for defense, railways, and so on. But I can tell you one thing that in India, being a startup, I mean, this has been a story right from last 50 years since I first started my company in another company in 1986. That the biggest customer for very high tech kind of products that we have built is the government.
Hmm.
Right? Private companies are not very, they are very risk aversive. They don't want to take challenges by which they can, uh, either really benefit a lot, or it could be a failure, as any technology could be. So government is the best bet for all startups, I can tell you that. But government doesn't realize that.
Hmm.
When we are talking about building deep tech startup ecosystems, and we want people to be encouraged, at least this government is, in that sense, is that is talking about encouraging, and every now and then we do hear a lot about sovereign technology and so on. I mean, in the early days when I started, even that was not the case. And our Indian culture also was such that as a startup, if you say that you have invented something, generally there was a round of smirking and disbelief, and even somebody would go far as to say, from where did you get this technology, right? I mean, discounting the fact that you are also capable of doing it. Anyway, now that culture is, we have outgrown that. But as of now, the government is the biggest consumer of technology because of the complex problems in which they are, and the way huge infrastructure that they have to maintain. But the point is that the procurement policies of the government, they are so arcane and so relic of the old colonial system. I mean, you can't have tendering kind of system for comparing high-tech solutions which you want
Which
to,
never existed before.
yeah, which never existed. How do you even evaluate? You only have to see the performance and what benefit it gives you. So you need to take that initial risk. You need to pilot the project, see how it functions, and then see what benefit it gives you. But if you go straight away for a tendering technology and the lowest bidder gets a thing, then invariably the government or the tenderer uh, gets shorted. I mean, they get a bad deal
Mm.
because people either people somehow with various other influences they do get that tender, or the technology that they are selling it to them is doesn't serve the purpose. So this is the problem for startups, and as so for from that context, we have formed a deep tech forum of Indian entrepreneurs, which hopefully when we are right now about 50 members, and we hope to grow to 100 or so, so that we can be a voice in this
Sure.
system and influence policies that could be more conducive to people like us. I mean, it's a more self-centered kind of
Sure.
initiative, but still, I think it will help everybody, all startup companies that you were referring to.
Right.
So we do want to do that, and see at the government level there are very good intentioned policies, and but it doesn't trickle down. The PSUs and the other government departments don't follow even those guidelines and things which government has prescribed. So
Hmm.
this is a big challenge for technology entrepreneurs in India.
It still is. But I think as much as it's a challenge for technology entrepreneurs, I think you also argue very vehemently, and I've read some wonderful papers that you've shared about the persistent public problems that India has: stampedes in temples, death on unmanned railway crossings, which the government is also taking up in a big way, water crisis, flooding of urban areas. You have
Absolutely.
looked at some of these problems very deeply, looked at it from the context of what it means for the government, what it means for the citizen, and what kind of technology can bring in to solve these. So could you share some of those thoughts with the
Yeah,
audience?
I, I, I am a votary of the fact that the technology that even if we don't have the technology, government should promote and ask people and encourage them to build such technologies which will help solve these problems. Correct? Because I mean, every day when you open the newspaper, some heartrending headlines you see, which when I see it as a technologist, I feel even worse and even more sad compared to most people, because I know that this could have been prevented. It could have been easily prevented. Any stampede, any fire, any boat capsizing, any of these accidents, they are not acts of God. They are just simple man-made problems. So
Right.
it could easily be solved. And from a technology, I think what the question you are asking is how do you think we can solve that, right? So there are, for example, let me take the question of stampede. That is possibly in the last couple of years has been the biggest tragedy in many places, right? Right from railway platform to Kumbh Mela to even cricket, whatever that stadium where the celebration was going on, or political meetings, religious meetings, where people come with so much aspirations, anticipation, so much of faith in whatever, for whatever reasons they have come. If we don't guarantee the public for their safety, with which we can do with just simple things which we can adopt. For example, uh, we all know anywhere there is going to be a crowd, we can anticipate that. And there are also places where crowds happen where there are already lot of cameras that are installed. Right, all it takes is to have these cameras if they are not there on a temporary basis even, and have some smart edge computing devices which we have. We can give it free to anybody you want, which can count the. I mean, you have an estimate of what the crowd is going to be given the area in which the crowd is going to collect, right? And the AI-based program can easily keep monitoring this and seeing how the crowd density is increasing. And at some threshold beyond which you know is crisis is going to happen, police and other people can be alerted to ensure that the crowd does not build up further. Right? So, for example, in a railway platform, already there is a crowd, and if there is a train coming in, that is going to have a lot of people disembarking from the train. So, this whole big numbers are going to be unexpectedly large for some accidents to take place. This can be anticipated very easily. So I feel that almost all these places where such tragedies happen, whole lot of money is spent in preparing. You build a stage, you have mic, you have so much of bandobast, everything. You require just a not even a fraction of that amount you are spending to organize that meeting. If you do it for people's safety, I think the world will be better off.
Better place. Absolutely. Do you have any views on the, current hot favorite, the NEET fiasco, where, things have unfortunately been very difficult for students across the country?
Yeah, I think, see, let me just give you a small number before I give you any solutions that is possible to be done. In India, for let us say for public exams like NEET or whatever, 2.3 million, that's what the number I think, if I'm not wrong, people write those exams, right? In China, every year they have a competitive exam where 23 million people write the exam. And when they write the exam on that day, the whole country is closed. There are no near about this thing. No aircraft takes over, takes. I mean,
Takes off.
takes off,
Right.
takes off, or people. I mean, traffic is not allowed near that exam center. So the whole country takes those exams very, very seriously.
Hmm.
That is what is the. Before we talk about technology, we need to talk about the seriousness of this situation where so many children's aspirations are at stake. So we
Children's
have to take,
aspirations and their family's future.
of course, yes. So
Like you,
family's
like you
future,
yourself said that you got through IIT Kharagpur and that changed your fortune. That
absolutely. I
changed your
got
life.
into a new orbit altogether.
Correct. Correct.
And I can see many families going from one strata of society to other because their children have got educated and got good jobs and so on. So this is really the lives of so many people. So coming to the technology part of it, I think there are a lot of technologies that will work and is working, but it is more of governance, administrative policies. Uh, I mean, maybe some unscrupulous elements within the thing, and uh, the consequences. See, the compliance is has no meaning if you don't have serious consequences of not complying,
Hmm.
right? So, if certain things have to be done as per a process, if that is not carried out, the punishment has to be extreme. We might blame China for doing all the so-called non-democratic things, but because of that fear, the things work so well there, right?
Correct.
I
Correct.
mean, I told you 10 times the student
Volume.
examination, and everything goes off very smoothly at the cost of just one day of I mean, we have so many holidays here. We can give one more holiday
Right.
and have all the exams on the same day.
Yeah. No,
So,
and I think I've seen that as a change in thought process over the 2 decades I've known you as well. From more, I mean, the product, like you said, like you corrected me when I introduced KritiLabs as well. More from just looking at the product and thinking about the product, you now think through and you encourage your team and everyone around you to think about governance, about
exact
the procedures, the
people,
processes, the people. When you're
people.
designing a system, all of those are equally important and not
Absolutely,
just the product.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, if you go to countries like Japan and China, as a visitor also you go, you can see that so many systems are designed with so much empathy to people who are going to use it. Right? I mean, as a technologist, you can see those things embedded in that.
Yeah,
It is not just something that is as an afterthought, something is put in. At the
right.
time of design itself, the whole, that is what, as an engineer, you can see what's happening there. So we
Absolutely.
need to build systems like that.
So, like you mentioned, uh, you mentioned in the age of LLMs now versus when you started building systems. Today, with AI and with the kind of technology that each of one has in our hands, how do you think that a young person sitting in a small town or a village can solve local problems? How should they think about it? They may have an engineering mindset, but not a degree. But today, technology is so much simpler and more accessible. So, how do you think they should think about this?
See, I mean, this technology that is there, no single person on his own can do anything much or benefit out of it. It is the whole ecosystem that has to be built, and the ecosystem has in it all stakeholders, right from the government to people who develop these technologies, and people who will take these technologies to the users, right, and the users themselves. So this whole ecosystem has to be built. So, if I was reading an interesting book the other day by one professor called Amar Bide, right, uh, which says the venturesome economy. So, what he is arguing is that countries have not become great because they developed superior technology. They have become great because they used those technologies across all sections of the people.
Hmm.
Right? So it is not just one servam or one somebody does. This has been our bane of always having pockets of excellence in various places without anything proliferating, the benefits of that proliferating to a whole lot of people. So to answer your question, a person sitting in a small town, of course, the AI technology can liberate that person to a large extent. And if other systems are in place, for example, in a panchayat president has so many things to worry about, right?
Right.
Across the so many his own village and so on. And the panchayat president is not fully equipped or maybe doesn't have all the things that are management skills that are required to handle such a big complex situation as handling, let us say, some 15, 20,000 people in the village or wherever, right? He has to look at the utilities, he has to look at the road, he has to look at ensuring people conflict is not there, and various things to do that. Now, easily, I'm not saying AI is the panacea for this, but AI could help the person to liberate him from the very, very dull and routine day to day chores and to be able to concentrate on the bigger picture of how his village can prosper, how they can cooperate with each other, how, for example, I mean, I have myself worked in some of the villages, so
And
let
that's why
me
I
tell
asked
you
that question, because you've done a lot of work on ground.
yeah, I can tell you some examples. I have also been working not too much as a social worker, but as a technologist to see how things can improve in villages by the use of technology. And for example, I have seen that any village you take, there will be half a set of people who would be selling their milk to some middleman and so on. And then that middleman will take that milk. And then for their own use, they will buy milk from other people, right? Or from the same middleman.
Right.
And so this doesn't make sense at all. And this can easily be solved if people come together, the producers and the consumers within the village come together, and you have a good village economy of its own. Now, AI can help this to happen
Hmm.
because it can take care of all the nitty gritty details that normally come in the way of these things happening, while people have a much bigger picture of what should happen. They are not able to make it happen.
Hmm.
So I think these technologies can easily help. That's- not just AI, there are many other technologies also which can uh, trickle through and really help. And this is, but we need to have the will to do it. We need to have the political and social will to do that.
Yeah. So, you worked with engineers primarily. Of course, a lot of other people as well, like you said, social workers and whatever, but you worked with engineers, trained them, taught them, mentored them over the lifetime. Um, and I wanted to know, what are the top three things or qualities that you think make a good engineer, right? Not a founder, but a good engineer.
Yeah, I see. I think one should really. I think the first thing you should tell or teach an engineer who calls himself an engineer to know what really is engineer.
Hmm.
Most people don't understand that. Most people think engineering means you get a good job, right? That's
Hmm.
the first thing that you understand, which is maybe true, but that's not the only thing about engineering, right? Or many people nowadays think engineering means good programming, good coding, good, unfortunate, but that is what many people think. See, as an engineer, you are solving problems, right? You are building solutions to solve problems, or you are solving problems. So, to do that, you should understand the problems in your social milieu. Wherever you are, you should be able to detect that this is a problem. Most of us don't even think of things as a problem. I
Hmm.
mean, if somebody is waiting in a queue for a bus for 1 hour, you continue to keep waiting there without thinking this how to solve this problem of
Hmm.
how do we know when the bus will come. I mean, these are engineering simple problems to solve.
Right.
But most of us, perhaps because of our education in school or whatever, we just take for granted if we face any problem that it will either go away or we are destined to suffer those problems. We don't have to do anything about it.
Culturally, we like to be compliant.
Compliant, yes, and we possibly because of so many years of subjugation and with a little relief you get here and there, we are happy. You don't want to get out of that situation. But so first thing, so I mean, since you asked that question, this is the first thing an engineer needs to know. And I make sure even yesterday when I had work, I was talking to my team. I had to tell them what movie do you see, what other things, what books do you read, so that I don't want them to be just lab rats, right? They should understand the whole world in which they are in and what things are there out there which requires solving. So that is the first thing. Second is an engineer is quintessentially the activity that an engineer should do is design, right? The first thing, if you have a problem and you want to solve it, and you have some solution in mind, you have to take a paper and pencil and chalk out the entire thing. Which most right, so-called engineers now, they have forgotten that, right? Right from the old days, we never built anything, any building without a blueprint. Right? He never built a machine without it drawing it first, or seeing how it will work. Of course, then as an engineer, we were taught to do several very complex calculations to know that it will work. Right? For example, if you want water to flow through a pipeline, you should know how much water at what rate it should flow for you to design the diameter of the pipe. You can't have a small pipe with a whole lot of water gushing in, or a huge pipe with very. So these are simple things, but people don't understand that, mainly because there are many things that are ready-made available, and many things for which I mean, there is no scope for doing any design or anything. They don't think it is necessary to do design.
Mm.
Simple thing is, in programming, coding, people just jump into the computer and start their fingers fly on the keyboard without knowing where this program is going to take them.
Yeah.
Right. So design is so important for an engineer.
Yeah. No, very well said. I think I remember in one of our engineering classes as well, there was so much focus on design, where I still remember our professor saying that it doesn't matter what product you've built, but you haven't understood your user and how they will use it, and you haven't designed it
Right.
for that, then you've not built
Right.
a good product at all. Uh,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
I want to ask you, I'm going to move to, uh, a common sort of theme in your part of the book as well. You've, spoken about how your relationship with Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala in building one of the early companies, and the work you all did together. I'm curious to see from your lens and your point of view that this, he built IITM Research Park. He designed that space for engineers and for founders and for people like you and me to come and, get their hands dirty and build something. What do you think is, the need for a place like that to commercialize in today's day and age? Is there, what do you think of that space?
Answer to that question is very clear in my mind,
Yeah.
because quite some time back, or maybe if you take 100 or 200 years ago, anywhere the temple was the main central focus of activities. Right from commerce to inventions to various things were taking place, even though it was a designated place of worship, but there were a lot of other such social activities that really benefited the society
Hmm.
in that sense. You know, Going forward, after we got the independence, our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru said all the factories and the industrial plants are our temples, right? So because that gave a new fillip to the uh, the Indian population. People, uh, I mean, gathered together in places like where certain things were being built, or I mean, factories where some things were produced, and they identified themselves as this is the new India in which they are going to live, and this is where what they are doing is going out to benefit people. So now coming to your question, I think what Professor Junjunwala has built is something fantastic, where so many, I think, I don't know how many people are there working now in IIT Research Park. I am quite sure there are more than tens of thousands of people there. But when you enter that place, it is like a temple. Suddenly you feel so elevated and so spiritually very, as though you're in some hallowed grounds,
Hmm.
right? So going there, I mean, individually, that is what, like when you enter a temple or you enter an industrial house, that's the way you feel that something is happening here. That's what you feel there. But from a point of view of what the country can look forward to for in terms of these kinds of places where there is a congregation of such high intensity innovative work that is going on. Uh, this and the fact that professor made it possible for this to happen in his vision is something that requires very great gratitude on the part of all of us who are technology related, right? Uh, I would think that this experiment should be repeated as much as possible in various other places too, because not just the people of Chennai and the companies that are working there should have the benefit of such good facilities, but across India we have so many academic institutions which can uh, 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 collaborate with such places of innovation so that you get the best out of the academia and the technology companies, right? So the first experiment, or rather the first example that I know is in Trichy, where there is a BHEL factory, and it is side by side to what is now NIT. Those days it used to be called Regional Engineering College Trichy, and the forgetting his name, but very big visionary was running the BHEL factory, and the NIT on one side and the BHEL, they did such wonderful work together. So we have to learn from those things, and I think the research park has to be really replicated in as many places as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think by design it brings a lot of different skill sets that are needed, to commercialize technology. But I want to come back to, something that is often in the world of technology now is assumed that you need funding. Half the startup founders are always looking for funding or who's going to fund this. And I want to ask you this question, Dr. Rajaram, because you have built business after business and reasonably large companies bootstrapped. KritiLabs,
Yeah,
for
I
instance,
think,
has taken very, very minimal funding and is largely bootstrapped over the last 14 years. And it runs oil tankers across the country, has operations 200 plus cities, and is saving crores of rupees for some of these PSUs and mining companies. But you've built it bootstrapped. So, what is your point of view on this environment right now, and how should a young person who's looking to build think about money and capital as they want to build?
yeah, see, I don't think we are a prime example as far as funding is concerned, and should not be looked upon as a paradigm or something for young startup, because we did not get funding not by our choice, but that's how the world is. That's how so we found funding agencies all have some boxes to tick, and if you are fortunate to tick all the boxes, then you can possibly go to the next level of people who will take a
Right.
decision. For us, we found that at the time when we grew KritiLabs, mostly e-commerce, software as service, all these were, very fashionable, high ticket items. So people didn't think too much about what we are doing, or what in future, how we can really make an impact, both commercially and as far as the country is concerned. So I would think, in a sense, so it is a problem. It's always a problem. not just deep tech, any entrepreneurs is a problem. And however much the government has various policies and various things to help people, uh, it does not trickle down to levels where it actually has to happen. It doesn't seem to ever reach a bank manager or a VC funding person, or it never reaches there. They all look upon you as another businessman who has come here, and they have to be very careful that they don't get cheated by a businessman, right?
Mm.
So they want collateral, they want so many other things. But I would think, just to change the thing, you might have heard of a concept called anti-fragile by a guy called Nissim Taleb, right? It's a wonderful concept. Anti-fragile is not the opposite of fragile. It is anti-fragile is a third concept where between fragile and robust. What is anti-fragile is the more you try to harm it or break it or something, it becomes stronger,
Mm.
right? So that is the concept of anti-fragile, and that's what we have become. The more fund we didn't get funding, the more opportunities we missed to get funding. We struggled even harder to outcome. I mean,
Outdo
go.
and outpace everybody.
Yes, so we try to innovate and get out of that situation. So
Mm.
in a sense, our not getting funding has also in a sense has helped us, so that we have become stronger for that.
I love
But
this concept of anti-fragile. I think it's a gem. I think all of us need that for everything.
yes, anti-fragile is a very good concept, as long as basically almost everything, you see, if you cut your hair grows more, right?
Yeah.
Or if a tree or a plant judiciously, if it is cut, then it becomes more nurtured. So there is a lot of such examples in the nature, and I think as human beings also, and particularly as entrepreneurs, you require this quality, because,
Absolutely.
for example, during COVID times, we really came out much stronger than
Yeah.
most people, because a lot of people did go under during COVID,
Yeah.
but we were able to survive that, and we came out stronger than
Incredible.
earlier.
Yeah.
So I always have this thing in mind. So whenever I am undergoing a lot of stress, I think, how can I turn this stress to advantage?
Incredible. What an important thought, I think, for all of us. And I think anti-fragile is going to be my new favorite term for sure.
Yeah,
But I'm going
yeah.
to ask you a little bit more about the book that you are writing. And I read a few chapters, so I'm very fascinated. And I would love for everyone to just hear the concept.
Well, it is just a thought. I don't know until I finish the book completely and it gets accepted. Whether it is on the right lines or not, I don't know. But my theory is that uh, I mean, being having somebody, some authoritative or authority, if you want to abstract it, above you is an existential problem. The day you are born, your parents who are total control of your lives, right? And as you grow, then the school is there. The school shapes what you have to do. It has its own do's and don'ts and so on. And then when you grow further, you take up a job, then you have bosses who tell you what you have to do, what you should not do. So what happens is, I mean, these kinds of authorities, I call it chimpanzees, because they seem to be ruling your life, right? So the book title is called Up Against the Chimps. So
Okay.
you are always up against the chimp. So even if you are an independent entrepreneur like us, you have people to whom you have to be very differential in terms of whether they'll give you the order, they won't give you the order, what they will do, and so on. So the point that is being made in the book is that most of us kind of give up on this being subjugated. We just accept the authority because we are too, one can say we are too conformist, or we are too lazy, or we are too comfortable in that state of being exploited. So we just listen and go further and not say anything. And you need to, if you really want to make an impact on your own life, you have to think through it and see uh, how to overcome this kind of being always under somebody's umbrella, right? You need to have an independence of your own. But the danger there is you yourself may become a chimp for other people. You can become an authority. You may be starting to tell other people what they should do, what they should not do, and so on and so forth. So it's a very complex and, but at the same time, very interesting thought for me, because I am a kind of a, right from beginning, I have been a rebel. So anybody who tries to pull ranks on me or push their authority, I always stand up to it. But but that's what made me write this book. As to, that's an existential problem. You can't wish it away. It is, if you have come into this world, this kind of levels of authorities will always be there. So anyway, so let me see how this develops. This is just a thought. How it develops further into the remaining part of the book, I have to see.
Well, good luck for that. And as a lot of young innovators go up against the chimps, what is the, and they're tinkering in their labs, trying to build something. What would you like to tell them? How should they continue to, get inspired, get motivated, get out of the bed on their hard days and still continue building?
Most young innovators will always have a dream, right? They will be visualizing a future situation which would be very different from the current one. Whatever it, whether it is in their own life or whether something that they are building which would change the world, whichever way there is always a dream and a visual picture of what you are working for. Right? So uh, then very often it may feel very difficult to achieve that. And well, it's just like, I mean, in fact, just as an aside, I would like these innovators to go trekking, right, and start climbing mountains, because that is exactly what you do as an entrepreneur. Because while you are at it, you are physically exerting yourself so much, and you're all alone, and you start thinking, why am I doing all this? And but when you raise your head and see the peak in front of you, and that is where you want to climb, then that inspires you for some more time. You go up further, and then when you're on top of it, you feel really the kind of feeling that you would never have experienced earlier. But that's not the end of it. When you are standing on that peak and you raise your head, you see another peak in front of you, which is higher than this. And then you feel, oh, I am still here only. I still need to go so far up. And so that is the all entrepreneurs and all innovators go through this. Everybody, I think, I don't know if you have read the biography of a guy called Demis Habbabis. Demis Habbabis is a Nobel laureate of 2025, and is he is a AI expert now, and he got the Nobel Prize in chemistry. He had nothing to do with chemistry, and he started being an extraordinary genius from the age of 7 or 8 itself, where he started writing programs in gaming, and then by 14 or 15 he got employed by a company in gaming. Then he went on to do his PhD in neuroscience. Okay. And then of course he started. By the time he was well into AI and doing things, and he coined a new word called artificial general intelligence to discriminate it against Gen AI, which we are all familiar with. And he wrote a program uh, which, with his artificial general intelligence, he wrote a program which defeated the world champion of a very complicated Japanese game called Go. And that Go is about 100 times more complex than chess, with 100 times more pieces on the board. And that Go champion was who was the reigning champion for last so many years, that he got defeated by this program. And now he is into he has got a company in AI, London based. So what I'm trying to say is that he has gone from one peak to another peak to another peak. You cannot rest as a true innovator. You can't rest after you think you have got your immediate, reached your immediate destination, because that destination itself shows you that there is another bigger destination for you to go. So I hope
Very well said. Very well
innovators
said. Yeah.
do really think about it, and they are in for a long haul. It is not some small thing that they can
Hmm.
do and feel happy and then live happily ever after. That never happens.
Yeah. Once that happens, you will look for the new problem to solve and the new product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think it has been a very, very insightful conversation. I'm sure everyone has taken away quite a bit. And I know that I have enjoyed these conversations for 20 years with you, and I hope to enjoy them for the next 20 years again. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. And
It was my pleasure, and you really kindled a few thoughts which had not been harbored by me earlier. So now I'll try and follow up those thoughts to see how much I can benefit out of that. Thank you so much.
thank you.